Audio testing.
Audio testing. Audio. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Audio testing. Audio testing. 1, 2, 3. Good. Okay. Thank you.
My answer was you or Carrie Thomas. Okay.
Do it late.
Good afternoon, or good morning, rather. If you could please take your seat. And if you are speaking, and I'm going to call out your name so that will confirm whether you're speaking, please take a seat, find your name. Miss Lavinia Miller, Butch Ayers, Terry Norris. If we have U.S. Attorney Ryan Buchanan, Chief Shirebaum, Chief Roberts, Sheriff Owens, Chief Grogan, Chief Ramos, Sheriff Maddox, Chief Gray, Chief Jones, Sheriff Brown, Sheriff Nichols, Commissioner Hitchens. So good morning once again. My name is Jared Foyer, and I am the Executive Director of National Faith in Blue Weekend. I'm going to go over a little housekeeping and provide a very quick introduction, and then we're going to be on our way. This is the third year of National Faith and Blue Weekend. This is an initiative that originated here in the Metro Atlanta area. It originated with the strength and the relationships that communities of faith and law enforcement had, and it became a model for the rest of the country to follow. And the country has followed. There were 2,000 events in all 50 states last year, from the tip of the Aleutian Islands in Alaska to the tip of the Florida Keys, in the densest parts of New York City to the most rural parts of Wyoming. National Faith in Blue Weekend is touching hundreds of thousands of lives, and it is creating an alternative, powerful story of hope and community and solidarity, and things that we feel and hear are told are lacking, but we know deep down in our hearts are not. And the pillars of the community, the twin pillars, law enforcement and the faith, are providing the way to go forward. And that's what we're doing with National Faith in Blue Weekend. In a moment, I'm going to ask Chief Thomas to come up and offer an introduction. And then there will be speakers representing the different law enforcement agencies from across the metro region. And then there will be time for questions from the media. Thank you so much to all our partners. Thank you so much to the law enforcement organizations that are the bedrock of National Faith in Blue Weekend. And thank you to the members of the media for being here. And now with that, I would like to ask that Chief Thomas from the Chamblee Police Department come and say a few words of introduction. Chief?
Good morning. I'm Chief Thomas from the Chamblee Police Department. On behalf of the Mayor and Council and the Chamblee Police Department, we would like to welcome each and every one of you. Thank you for coming. We would like to also say that we are elated to be a partner in the Faith in Blue. So if there's anything that the Chamblee Police Department can do or assist you with, please reach out to myself or any of my staff members. We stand ready to assist. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. And now I would actually ask Lavinia Miller, who is our corporate partner with Motorola Solutions and makes all of this possible, to just offer a word. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lavinia Miller, representing Motorola. Motorola is a proud sponsor of Faith in Blue for several years. I remember when we met with Reverend Hitchens many, many years ago, and he talked to us about the overall initiative. And at that particular moment, we realized that this aligned 100% with Motorola's core belief as well. So we just want to thank you guys for allowing us to continue to partner with you. I see that over the last few years, things are continuously growing, and we are extremely excited to be a part of this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. And now I would like to introduce Reverend Markel Hitchens. Reverend Hitchens is the visionary behind National Faith in Blue Weekend. He has taken it from a concept to a reality, and he is going to lead us through today's press conference. Reverend Hitchens.
Thank you, Jared. And let me echo Jared's sentiments of appreciation to our sponsors, FirstNet built with AT&T and the Motorola Solutions Foundation. Without their support, we could not have done what we've been able to do. What we're seeing in the Atlanta region is happening in communities of every kind across the country. The crime and violence that has terrorized too many of our communities cannot and will not be addressed by law enforcement alone. I am a native of Atlanta. I grew up in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Our chief is here. My mother is a native of Stone Mountain, Georgia. She's a graduate of the segregation era Hamilton High School. My mother and I had a conversation about crime and violence last night, and she said to me she's more afraid of going to the Walmart now than she was going to the corner store when the Ku Klux Klan was marching through the streets of Stone Mountain, Georgia. What we have seen over the last several years with the escalation of crime and violence is totally unacceptable. And this community and every other community across this country has an obligation and a responsibility to stand in solidarity with our public safety professionals. There's nobody in the Atlanta community, and I would say few in this country, who have stood for police accountability any more than I have. I've marched and protested, led many demonstrations, and we'll continue to do so when it is necessary. But over the years, Deputy Chief Peake, I found that there's more that unites us together than there is that divides us. The time for marching and protesting around police-involved controversies is largely behind us. We've got to march with law enforcement now because our communities have become less and less safe. Since the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis, the number of officer-involved deaths has not decreased. All the while, crime and violence is escalating in our most vulnerable communities. We can't get people to serve as law enforcement professionals because of the demonization of police. Our objective has never been to defeat law enforcement. This is Atlanta. We are cradle of the American Civil Rights Movement. It was Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. and Ralph Abernathy and Joseph Lowry and Hosea Williams and Andrew Young. It was Zernona Clayton and so many other great icons that marched through the segregated South so we would have the opportunities that we have. And yet, much of their work is being undermined by the gang and drug activities. And I call upon every faith-based and every community organization, including those who have marched with me over the years, to stand up and stand in solidarity with law enforcement. It's not enough to hang a sign outside of your church, outside of your organization that says Black Lives Matter. It's not enough to hang a sign that says Blue Lives Matter. We have to come together at tables of sisterhood and brotherhood and stop this crime and violence in its tracks. I have a 15-year-old son. I'm much more concerned, and I'll get in trouble with some of my civil rights friends, but I don't really care. I'm much more concerned at this moment that he will be attacked or harmed by someone that looks like him than I am a law enforcement professional. That's the truth. That's the reality. So while we continue to hold law enforcement accountable, we have to be accountable. And that is why we created National Faith in Blue Weekend. Within a 3-year time frame, this has become the largest and most consolidated police community outreach project in American history. We started this right here in Atlanta. We started it as the One Congregation, One Precinct initiative. In 2020, just over 3 years ago, when I started to see people in one corner yelling, "Our lives matter," and people in different corners yelling and screaming different messages, I knew that we were headed in the wrong direction because we've never progressed when we separate or segregate ourselves one from another. We only progress when we have the courage to turn to each other, to sit together and reason together. And it was for that reason that in April of 2020, I asked the United States Department of Justice and every national law enforcement organization in America to join with us, and the Georgia Chiefs and Georgia Sheriff's Associations as well, to do something that could bring the community and law enforcement together. Not just to sing kumbaya and love on one another, that's important, but we have deeper issues. We will not see a reduction in officer-involved tragedies, and we will not see a reduction in community violence if we're reduced to yelling and screaming at each other. So in 2020, we asked the Department of Justice and all the national law enforcement groups to come together with us, and together we came up with this concept of a national weekend focused on unity, healing, and reconciliation. Together we came up with this thought of a national weekend where we brought together the best of community policing principles and put them in the hands of the most valuable community assets that our nation has. I would dare say, if we are to see a reduction in crime and violence, if we are to see a reduction in officer-involved tragedies, if we are to change the narrative and shift the discussion, it will be only because faith-based and community organizations figure out a way to partner and collaborate with our law enforcement professionals. And that's what we're here to announce today. From Friday, October 7th, through Monday, October the 10th, 1 month from today, we ask every faith-based organization in this community and across this country to invite law enforcement in. The answers to the challenges we face when it comes to social justice and crime, the answers will not be printed in the ink of a piece of legislation, in an executive order, and it cannot be taught in an academy. The solutions to the challenges with crime and violence, as well as trust, lie in the hearts and minds of every community resident and every law enforcement professional. And that's why we want the community to come together with law enforcement. Again, this has become the largest and most consolidated police community outreach project in our state's history and in our nation's history. But if there's ever been a time where we needed the community to stand up and support law enforcement, that time is right now. If we look at the amount of escalating crime every single day, we see young people, 7-year-olds, hurt, killed. We see school violence. If the faith-based community and our community organizations in Atlanta cannot do something about that, no one else will. We cannot continue to ask law enforcement, prosecutors, federal agencies to do this by themselves. They need us. And God knows our communities need them. I'm going to ask a number of law enforcement leaders who are present to make some brief remarks about this effort and about what the community can do to stand in solidarity. We will begin and go in this order. We'll first start with retired Chief Andre Butch Ayers, Executive Director of the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. He will be followed by Mr. Terry Norris, Executive Director of the Georgia Sheriff's Association. He will be followed by Atlanta Deputy Chief Peake, Timothy Peake, had to look at it. He will be followed by Clayton County Police Chief Kevin Roberts, Cobb County Sheriff Craig Owens, Dunwoody Police Chief Billy Mitchell, DeKalb County Police Chief Mirtha Ramos, Fayetteville Police Chief Scott Gray, Gwinnett County Police Deputy Chief Jesse Jones, Newton County Sheriff Ezell Brown, Rabun County Sheriff Chad Nichols, and Georgia State Patrol Deputy Commissioner William Hitchens. Chief Ayers.
All right, excuse me. Good morning, everyone. It's like Reverend Hutchins said, this is one of the biggest community outreaches for law enforcement. and excuse me, Our association started with on the ground floor of this movement back in 2020. And our basic, I guess, support mechanism is we support the law enforcement agencies and professionals that you see in this room and represented here throughout the state in helping organize the National Faith in Blue Weekend. I believe in what we're trying to do, and again, the community cannot solve the crime problems and issues by themselves. Law enforcement cannot solve the issues by themselves, but together, working together, developing that trust, building that reliable communications between them is going to be a winner for our community. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Terry Norris. I'm Executive Director of the Georgia Sheriff's Association, a deputy sheriff in a number of counties. I want to first thank you, our friends in the media. You have come today for a very good reason. Like Chief Harris said, the community outreach that we have attained through Faith in Blue has been phenomenal. It is unprecedented in our state and our country, and Markel, I only see growth. Thank you. There's little doubt that any police officer, chief, sheriff in this room would doubt or naysay to you that the community matters. And I think that's what we want to express to you in the media and throughout the metro Atlanta area today. Communities matter. Community involvement matters. The interaction between law enforcement and communities throughout this state matter. We and law enforcement cannot be effective without communities. And communities must trust us, but yet on the other hand, we must trust communities to help us do our jobs. So I will say this in closing. We have a number of folks that are coming up that are going to be very interesting in their perspective on thanking Markel and his team. But y'all, this is, as I said, unprecedented for our state and our country. Reverend Hitchens and his team have brought this idea forward. I remember in the early years we talked about this. We met at Atlanta University. We've met a number of places. We've met in churches. And it is also unquestionable that the bedrock, the foundation of communities are the faith-based communities. So thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to be with my colleagues in law enforcement. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Deputy Chief Timothy Peake, Atlanta Police Department. I just first want to thank you for the opportunity of coming and joining together with all of our law enforcement partners. And as I think about your remarks, Reverend Hitchens, as he spoke about being that advocate in the community a number of years ago, which I'll assure you that he is still today. I remember some of the other comments that we had to endure because of some of the things that we weren't quite doing as we should once upon a time. I'm thankful and look forward in today's time and be able to now call Markel a friend. And while I still reverence Reverend Hitchens, it's because of his vision, because of his leadership that he has taken it so close to his heart to bring us all together. Yes, we must be one as a community, and I'm one of those people that very well grew up right in the city of Atlanta, and I still serve my community, and I love my community. And so the question is always on the table of how did we ever get separated in the first place? What I'll say is regardless to what happened, when it happened, our goal, our focus must be coming together and serving hand in hand. So what I promise to you on behalf of Interim Chief Darren Shibbaum, that the Atlanta Police Department has open arms to every single person within our community, to every source, to every organization. What we want to be is a friend to each and every person. We want to walk together and solve our problems, not in silos, but together, because just as sure as it affects us in a professional environment, I am part of that community when I get off of that job and take this uniform off and embed myself with the very people that I walk with every single day. So thank you, Reverend Hitchens. We thank every person that's represented here and those that are not.
we ask that you open your arms and we'll extend our hands to each and every last person to walk together in one situation, that we keep our goals focused together and to make the city of Atlanta and the metropolitan area the safest that it can be in the country. So thank you very much.
Good morning. Kevin Roberts, Chief of Police, Clayton County. Reverend Hitchens, thank you for allowing me just a moment to speak to the importance of this annual event as we enter our third year of participation. Clayton County has seen more than its share of loss as it relates to officers, and it is so vitally important to our agency and our community that we continue to extend and open doors for communication and collaboration with our citizens. And we have historically known that our faith-based institutions are the core foundation of communicating with our citizens, thus the importance of our Faith in Blue event. But what we have to keep in mind is this is a weekend that occurs annually, but the weekend is the beginning. It is up to us as leaders to keep this communication going throughout the year. And as I said, we know the blessings of faith. We've seen officer injuries in Clayton County, and I've had the opportunity to recently visit one of my officers that is hospitalized as a result of gun violence, and she is doing well. And she's doing well because of faith. Faith that comes from our agency and our citizens and our faith-based leaders in the community. So I would advocate for every leader in this room to engage in this event, not just during the weekend, but every opportunity you get in your community to build those bonds, and we'll be stronger for it. I thank you for your time.
Well, good morning. I'm Sheriff Craig Owens from Cobb County. First and foremost, thank you, Reverend, for setting this up a couple years ago. It has led us on a path for success. I would tell anybody we cannot arrest our way out of problems we're having across the United States. And even in our metro Atlanta area, we cannot arrest our way out of these problems. So we have to have great working partnerships with our community. We have to bridge that gap between law enforcement and the community, which is what I think this program helps us do. In Cobb County, we like to say we're one team, one fight, one community, and I got that motto from you. Stole it, you didn't know I stole it from you, but that's where it came from. So what it's doing is helping us bridge that gap between law enforcement and community to make us better. We work better with our other agencies in the county as well as our community. We're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that everybody knows we can't arrest our way out of this problem, but what we can do together is work on solutions. This gun violence that we're having is killing everyone. We got to do something to focus on getting guns off the streets and out of the hands of young men and women. That's something we all got to focus on. And I think this program here has helped us get that by having that direct line of communication with our community. It's going to help us be more involved with them, hope them be able to trust us to make good judgments, make us do the right thing for them as well. That being said, thank you so very much, Reverend, again, for putting this together. It is indeed an honor and privilege for Cobb County Sheriff's Office to participate in it, and we're looking forward to participating in this for further years to come. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Billy Grogan. I'm the Chief of Police with the Dunwoody Police Department. As a native Atlantan, I share certainly Markel's feelings about the current state of affairs in our country and in Metro Atlanta. I first met Markel about 10 or 12 years ago at a meeting where he was talking about ways to bring the community and law enforcement together. And that initial try didn't necessarily work out 10 or 12 years ago. And then I remember that he went through a firearm simulator with the Atlanta Police Department. It gave him a new perspective of how police operate and the dangers police officers face. And I think over time, that experience plus him getting to know police officers has really kind of helped him develop into someone who recognizes the importance of bringing the community and the police together. And because of that, I think that's why the National Faith in Blue Weekend is so important, because if the community gets to know police officers individually and they're able to build relationships with them, They're going to share information. They're going to help police officers out when there's a situation or a crime issue in their community. It's all about relationships, and National Faith in Blue Weekend is certainly one of those events that will bring our communities together, and we certainly support it 100%. So thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Martha Ramos, and I'm the Chief of Police of the DeKalb County Police Department. So Faith in Blue Weekend is a great opportunity to continue building those relationships that we've been forging all year long. Times are tough. Violent crime is high nationwide. So now more than ever, this is the perfect time to work with our community partners and our faith-based organizations to address those issues that are impacting us all in our communities. Law enforcement cannot do it alone. We all know that. So I'm grateful for this opportunity to work with our partners who are eager to double our efforts from the 2 events that we had last year to 4 events. We've already scheduled our events. We've had no shortage of volunteers. So the DeKalb County Police Department will be hosting an event October 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. The DeKalb County Police Department supports the mission, and we're dedicated to doing our best in our communities with our partners. It's an exciting time, and I look forward to continued collaboration and partnerships with our partners. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm DeKalb County Sheriff Melody Maddox, and welcome to DeKalb. As you know, DeKalb County connects with all other entities. Fulton County, Gwinnett County, City of Atlanta. So what does that tell you? What affects one surely is going to affect another. This is not a one-man, one-woman show, and we cannot do it alone here. I'll tell you a quick situation that took place with me on the Sunday before last. Went to the Piccadillys. I won't tell you where because it's been in the news, but went to the Piccadillys, and I had a young man to get up. I'm in full uniform, and this young man gets up and he starts throwing gang signs at me, and he flips me off with the bird. I thought the young man had left, so I had to prep myself to defend because I didn't know what was going on or what was about to happen. You know, we're always under the microscope. So as the young man left, I thought he walked out the door. I looked up and he went into the bathroom. Well, what your sheriff did, I walked into the men's restroom. So I approached him. So he wasn't clear as to what was happening because he thought I had left because I was getting my items to go. When he saw me, he just stopped in sheer shock. And I checked him, and I let him know. I said a few words, yes, I did. But I asked him, while you are out here doing your dirt in our community, who do you think is protecting your family? Who do you think is protecting your mother, your father, your sister, your brothers, your cousins, while you are out here doing your dirt to our community? We are, young man. Then when I asked him, how old are you? 17 years old, I just turned 17. I said, this is not what you want. So I had to give him a lesson, and the young man came back and said, I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said, get to know who we are. You don't like me because of what one other person has done. One bad apple doesn't represent all of us in this room. Because I can guarantee you, those of us that wear this uniform, we wear it because this is what we like to do. We love to do it, and we've been doing it for several years, I can tell you that. I've been doing it for over 30 years now. This is a commitment and a dedication that I have to my community. I love it. I'm going to continue to do it. And it's time. I want to thank Reverend Markell for bringing us together. It is about us coming together as a community. We need for the community to know who we are. And it starts right here with us, with the leaders that are in this room, for those of us that sit up here on this platform, to go out in the community, as we have already been doing, as our chief with DeKalb County Police has been doing, and other agency heads. We have to continue that. We have to go out there to them and let them see who we are and not sit behind the seats and not sit behind the cameras. So I'm asking everyone, let's come together and let's make sure that we let the community know that we are here for them. No, it's not about just locking everyone up. It's not about the arrest power. It's not about our badge. My badge does not define who I am. My work ethic does. And we're going to continue to do what we need to do as a community, and I'm going to continue to get out there, and I'm going to continue to work with the leaders that are here. I'm going to continue to work with you all, and to the citizens that are watching, I'm going to continue to be out there with you all to let you all know that we can do this together. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Deputy Jesse Jones from the Gwinnett County Police Department. And on behalf of Chief McClure, our whole department, and just importantly, Reverend, our community, we want to thank you for inviting us. And I'm going to echo what my colleagues have said, and it's important for the community and for all of us to understand, is that we can't solve problems by ourselves, and our community can't solve problems by themselves. It's been a long, hard learning experience, but now we know we have to come together to solve problems. This weekend, or the weekend, the Faith in Blue event, we'll do 6 events throughout our county, everything from a blood drive to a food drive. And these are important. It's important for us to be able to sit down with the members of our community and not yell, not argue, but sit down and talk to one another and understand what everyone's needs are. And through doing that, we can truly solve problems in our community. And again, Reverend, we thank you. We thank you for the opportunity to better serve our community, and we look forward to a good weekend.
Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing? I'm Chief Scott Gray with the City of Fayetteville Police Department. I'm also the second vice president for the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. I want to echo what all of my colleagues in here have said today, but I want to touch on one point. Reverend Hitchens said it from the beginning. We grew up here. I grew up in Riverdale, Georgia. Chief Roberts, that was my home county. We collaborate and talk a lot. I always kid with him and say, hey, keep the home county safe. We came back to our homes to help protect it. We came back to our homes to help give back to our community, to help raise us up. It is our job now to help raise up our community as well. And it takes our community coming along with us and helping us out in this long, hard fight we have ahead of us. So I challenge everybody in every community, grab a hand, bring them along for the ride to help our communities become better places to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Ezell Brown. I am the Sheriff of Newton County, Covington, Georgia. It is an honor to be here with you today. I want to thank Reverend Hutchinson for his concept some time ago. Reverend Hutchinson, I will admit on today, I was a little skeptic when we talked 10 years ago. But I want you to know that I am grateful and I'm glad that you did not make a premature decision for something that is permanent. We thank you so much for that. Again, the Office of Sheriff of Newton County, and I'm sure throughout the nation and all other organizations, our goal and our job is to serve those who we serve and protect and even live with each and every day. One of the things that I can say, Reverend Hutchinson, we have something that is in common. From the faith-based community, it is your goal to save lives. And it is our goal as well from the law enforcement community to save lives. Thank you for that. I'll go on to say that we, as law enforcement officers, law enforcement professionals, we must become household names within our community to make sure that our community not only respect the badge, but also respect the name and also have someone that they feel that they can trust and they could go to at any given time. Because the very same ones, again, that we serve are the very same ones that we live near. Reverend Hutchinson, thank you so much again. Also, I will leave with each and every last one of you to instill in your officers. I do this each and every day, each and every time that I have the opportunity to speak with them. An arrest that is not legal is one that is illegal. So I want to thank you so much. We're going to have 3 or 4 events that we're going to have, and we encourage that each and every last one of you do likewise. Reverend Hutchinson, thank you so much, and God bless each and every last one of you.
Good morning, I'm Chad Nichols, the sheriff in Rabun County. I'm the ruralist county, sorry, that's a mouthful, but of the counties represented here, but I'm glad I was invited. It's an honor. We've participated ever since the Reverend brought it to the association, but it's funny when we was listening, I think he actually did the presentation to us Zoom. I think it was kind of right in that crazy times, and yeah, I thought as a sheriff in a small community, I thought, well, this is what I do every day. This is what we do every day. But the more I thought about it even more, even though I feel like I do it every day, there's more I can do. So we hit the ground running with it. We do basically one big event every year, and it's at our the food bank in Northeast Georgia, and we've grew every year of community with the number of faith, number of churches in our community. October is also Domestic Violence Month, so our Family Violence Shelter, that group joined us last year. We've got our health department joining us this year, so we're just going to continue to grow it and continue to work with all our community partners in our communities in Northeast Georgia. So thanks for the opportunity to come speak, and thank you, Reverend, for presenting this to us a couple years ago, and we'll continue to build on this because it's a simple concept that anyone can do if they choose. And I guess I could speak on how simple it is for either if you're a community member right now watching or if you're in law enforcement. This man has did all the work. You get on this website, you have everything you need for whatever kind of event you want to do. And he makes this simple and you really have no excuse not to participate in Faith in Blue Weekend. So once again, I'll hush before I get the hook and pulled off stage, but thank you, Reverend. Thank you, all the officers and deputies and sheriffs in here. You know, in Matthew, blessed are the peacemakers. I believe in that, but driving down here this morning, I thought, we need the community to be those peacemakers also. And as we all work together, you know, we can all be blessed because we can all be peacemakers in our community. So once again, thanks for the opportunity and looking forward to our event. I think we're going to do ours on the 8th. So thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Colonel William Hitchens with the Georgia Department of Public Safety. On behalf of Colonel Wright, thank you, Reverend Hutchins, for inviting us and letting us be a partner in this great event. One of the things that we stress at our agency and under the direction of Colonel Wright is relationships. When you have good working relationships with whoever you deal with, things always work smoother. The time to start a relationship is not during a crisis. So we appreciate this time for us to get together with our community, hopefully create those relationships, and when a crisis does happen, have those folks on our side to help us get whatever mission needs to be accomplished. We have to look at those types of things and think about, we can't understand what the quality of life issues are if we're not talking with the people in the community. That's all our goal for all of us here, is to increase the quality of life in any community that we're in. The Department of Public Safety will hold numerous events throughout this state in our rural and urban areas. We're very excited about doing that. We love for the people to come in and see what quality of people that we have that wear these uniforms, go out in the communities every day and put their lives on the line to help people, try and solve issues, protect lives, whatever our mission is. And one of the things I want to touch on, Sheriff Maddox kind of touched on a little bit, how easy is it for us to have issues with somebody we don't know? There's a lot of times you don't like them because they wear a uniform, you don't like them for other reasons, their beliefs, but how hard is it to dislike somebody when you get to know them? It changes things. How many people here have a favorite football team? How many's got a football team you love to hate? But if you got to know that team, would you really hate them? So we're just very thankful that we have the opportunity to partner with our people in the community. We look forward to it. And again, thank you for inviting us and letting us be a partner. Thank you.
Let me reiterate that the significance of this moment in time should not be lost. But I don't want there to be any uncertainty. For me and for the staff, I appreciate what you said, Sheriff Nichols, but I have a wonderful team of people that have worked tirelessly to make Faith in Blue happen across this country. But I want to reiterate, for me, this is not just ceremonial. It's not just an occasion for folks to kiss and hug, but this is an opportunity to get to know one another on a more human level. What killed George Floyd in Minneapolis was not flawed policy or procedure. The officer that killed George Floyd violated the department's policy. The problem was he did not sense or feel the humanity in George Floyd. The number of attacks and assaults we're seeing on our law enforcement professionals are not driven by anything other than this narrative that continues to circulate that somehow you have to be anti-law enforcement to be pro-community. I categorically reject that notion. I continue to be passionate about civil and human rights. I just recognize that peace and safety in our community is the most pressing issue on the hearts and minds of every person in this community and across this country. Faith in Blue Weekend is not about events. It's about engagement. It's about figuring out a pathway forward in every neighborhood, in every community, and in every situation. We have heard, Dr. Hawk, from what Dr. King used to call the vocal minority. Dr. King used to talk about the difference in the silent majority and the vocal minority. I've been at the forefront of civil rights in this community and across the country for the entirety of my adult life. I've never believed that we could separate ourselves or fight our way with one another. At the height of the civil rights movement, what made them successful was not that you had black folks over here and say black folks would overcome, or Negroes, as we would call it at that time, would overcome. The mantra was black and white together we would overcome. If we are to overcome the challenges of racial inequity, of crime and violence, of officer-involved tragedies, and the assaults and attacks that are escalating against our nation's law enforcement professionals, we will have to do so collaboratively. And that's what Faith in Blue Weekend is all about. There'll be hundreds of events and engagements for the community and law enforcement to come and reason together, to sit together, to get to know one another on a more human level, and to begin a relationship and work toward actual solutions. We've had enough marching, we've had enough protesting, we've had enough fighting. What we need now are solutions, and that's what National Faith in Blue Weekend gives us a chance to do in every community, in every neighborhood. I plead with every pastor, every priest, every imam, and every rabbi across this state. The weekend of February 7th through the 10th, invite your local law enforcement into your faith-based community. This is not about religion, it's about community engagement. Faith-based organizations still assemble the largest bodies of people of any kind, and that's why they are an ideal resource to connect law enforcement and the community together. It's about community change. It's about community transformation. We won't solve these problems by ourselves. The number of young people, Sheriff Maddox, that are members of gangs, a lot of them raised in single homes. A lot of them look like my son. Often it's not their fault, but they need this community. And law enforcement needs you as well. We got to stand up and do something about it. If I thought that marching and protesting would get us to where we need to be, I'd be marching right now. But it hasn't worked. It's not working. We've got to try something different. And I'm hoping that this community will try collaboration. I want to ask we're going to take a few questions from the media, and then I'm going to raise an offering because I see Deidre Dukes from Fox 5 here. But I want to ask all of the law enforcement leaders to come stand with me, and we're going to take some questions. If you can come that way so that you don't get in the live shot. All the police chiefs and sheriffs, Sheriff Williams here from Athens, Clarke County, come here, please. All of the police chiefs and sheriffs. Don't move so slowly. All of you law enforcement uniform folks, come right over here, please. The state president of Noble is here. Come on up here. You all come close, please.
Then we do have a designated space right here for media to ask questions. So
they can stand where they are.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Chief Peake again. While I don't specifically work inside the schools, we have a great relationship with Chief Applin and the Atlanta Public Schools system. We constantly share information with them and likewise receive, and we work in partnership to address the issues, because what happens inside the schools don't always end in the schools. It actually ends in the neighborhood itself. So I think it's really critical that we keep those relationships, and as we see the escalations, and yes, quite frankly, there are some, and I believe there are a number of initiatives that are going on right now to really and truly elevate the level of safety in our schools. Yes, I have 3 children, all of which are still matriculating through public school system. So it's imperative that we do all that we can to ensure that we can stomp out the safety inside the schools as well as in the neighborhoods, and we have to do that collectively together, not just with the police departments, but with the principals, with the teachers, with the counselors, and all of those other entities that we can bring together collectively to address those issues. Thank you.
Next question. Yes, sir. So the weekend is focused on creating a narrative and really building a movement. Every movement in the history of the United States of America for social change has been anchored in the faith community. If you look at the civil rights movement and every other movement for positive social change, this weekend is designed to activate those communities to stand in collaboration with law enforcement. Not only will there be hundreds of events across the state of Georgia, but there will be thousands of activities across all 50 states. The idea is to get everybody on the same page, that this is not just about fighting with one another. It's figuring out how we can come together, and that's what this weekend is all about. Focusing on our commonalities in an era where we've been so divided by our differences. What was your second question? I'll ask Sheriff Maddox and Chief Roberts to address your question.
Thank you again, Sheriff Maddox here. And to answer your question, it becomes a relationship also with your district attorney, your solicitor generals, your judges. All of those are the ones that make the decision for the day-to-day actions of those individuals that commit crimes. Those are the ones that actually set the guidelines for how much time you will serve, if you're going to be on probation. Well, if that opportunity comes where we get together and sit down, we're able to see, we're talking about alternative sentencing. Let me be clear, and I'm very big on that. What is it that we can do to help combat some of the what we call it, the reoccurring, for those individuals to reoccur. Recidivism, that's what I'm trying to get thank you, that's why I have my other sheriffs right here. The recidivism rate, as we see the numbers are going up, we're still in a pandemic, but kind of sort of, as they say, coming out of it. But you gotta realize there's a lot of mental illness that's going on out there too. What are we doing? What can we do as a community? So yes, we are doing our job, but we also need the support. That's why the community comes in hand as far as the resources that are necessary in order for us to help do what we need to do, but not just do it, but to do it better and to be able to pass that information on to them. So that's about building a relationship with those individuals in the judicial system to assist with what you're speaking of, and I've already done that as well. I am getting support. I'm getting support from my area in DeKalb County, so yes, I am. But it's not again, it's not a one-day thing. It doesn't just happen on one day. It's it's over time, and so we have to see what works and what does not work. We have to go back and filter through it and see what can we do again to make it better for the next go around. So again, it's all going back into a collaborative effort and having those relationships and being able to pick up the phone and call those individuals that are standing here to see what else we can do, whether it be in Cobb County, Gwinnett, Fulton, State Patrol, wherever. Those relationships do help.
Yes, I was.
Sorry, I'm just going to
Once again,
interrupt.
Kevin
I just want to
Roberts.
make sure that when you ask the question, we're also live streaming. That's the only reason. If you could use the mic, then it picks it up just for everybody that's watching. We have a country that's watching it. Here you go.
Once
Thank you
again,
so
Kevin
much.
Roberts, Clayton County Police Chief. Great question, Michael. And yes, in Clayton County, we're getting all the support we can handle from our Solicitor General's office and our DA's office. But what's great, Sheriff Maddox just gave the example of what's going on in the judicial system, but we also get great support in the community from our leaders from the DA's office and the SG's office. They are with us shoulder to shoulder when we do gun safety events in the community. They're with us shoulder to shoulder when we're doing food giveaways and things of that nature. So in Clayton County, yes, we recognize that we're stronger together than apart, and they're a part of that solution. So I'm pleased to report that. Thank you for letting me get that question.
Let me, Michael, I want to address this because I think the response that you heard from law enforcement is an accurate response, but it's not enough. It's not enough for the solicitors, the sheriffs, the chiefs, et cetera, to have the relationships and the partnerships. They need the community to not just be available to support, but to be actively engaged. We cannot arrest our way. We cannot prosecute our way. We have to find different solutions. And that's what these community-based organizations, most especially our faith-based organizations, should be doing at this moment. So it's not enough. I so appreciate, we have a wonderful district attorney and solicitor, sheriff, and police chief in DeKalb County. They're all wonderful women. But the reality is we need some other kinds of resources outside of the criminal justice system, so that when Sheriff Maddox has a need, like the young man that she encountered at Piccadilly, she doesn't have to call somebody in the criminal justice system. She can call one of the hundreds of faith-based organizations, all of which have dozens and some of them thousands of men and women that can mentor that young person. That's what this effort is all about. It's not just about a law enforcement response. It's about how the community, most especially our faith-based organizations, can get in the game in a serious, long-term way. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Zach Summers with CBS 46. This is for anybody who would like to answer. This is now your third year doing this initiative. Can any of you speak to past years when you have held an event and talk about any tangible solutions that came out of those events that maybe have changed the way you police, the way you do anything?
Sheriff Ramos? I'm sorry, Sheriff. Chief Ramos, you want to take that? Sheriff Owens as well.
So one of the benefits for us is, one, that we've developed this relationship throughout the years, meaning, so we had our events last year and the year before that, but we've continued the partnership day to day, month to month. And how that helps us is when we do need help with maybe finding some place for someone who needs some food or some resources, we can sometimes call our faith-based organizations because we have that comfort, we have that contact. So now, rather than saying we don't have any resources, not only do we have our county resources, but now we do count on our faith-based organizations to help us with food, housing allowances, counseling, all the things that maybe we didn't feel comfortable before doing that. And it's not about we, I mean the officers, boots on the ground. They're the ones who have to establish these relationships with the faith-based organizations so that they feel comfortable when they encounter these solutions that are not lawful, that are not illegal. What can we do? They now have people they can turn to. Thank you.
That's Craig Owens, Sheriff of Cobb County. Excellent question. We took it a little bit further from Cobb perspective. Honestly, I know how important the church and faith is in building a community. However, I want to look outside of that. So I started building relationships with our community leaders, not only leaders, but our organizations. We built a relationship with Cobb Chamber of Commerce, our workforce, Cobb, Atlanta Trades and Building Commission. Why do we want to build relations with those individuals? One, we can help find these young men and women jobs so they can find some fruitful things to do in life versus turning to crime. So we look at on the financial way, how can we get our business community to help out as well as our faith-based, because everything should not be on our faith-based community back to solve. We are one community, that means that everybody should be helping, not just one entity. So we spread it out to everyone in our community in Cobb County, from our faith-based to our business leaders, our local trade commission as well, to help us provide other financial resources to help them as well. So this program for us is working very well by using those to help us as well.
Just one other question. We heard blood drives, food banks. Can you kind of speak to the other events, if you will, or initiatives that will happen during this week and what they look like, and where can people find them?
So that's an excellent question. Anyone in this community or across the country can go to faithandblue.org, faithandblue.org. There's a planning toolkit that has 100 different types of activities that will happen across the country. Everything from a crucial conversation where there's dialogue about some of the critical issues, the officer-involved tragedies, active shooter trainings, book discussions, peace, justice, and unity walks, athletic events, barbecues, picnics, car shows. All of these activities are designed to do two things: to decrease the mutual bias and increase the respect while engaging the community with law enforcement. So any faith-based or community organization, any business can go to faithandblue.org. Every tool and resource imaginable has been created to make this easy and convenient for every community in this state to take advantage of. And clearly, with the presence of all the law enforcement agencies here and the hundreds of police departments and sheriff's offices across the state of Georgia, as well as the federal entities participating, there is a willingness in law enforcement to figure out some solutions together. But it's up to the community to figure out what those solutions need to be. It's not a one-size-fits-all. What is needed in Dunwoody may be very different than what is needed here in Chamblee. It may be different than what's needed in Rayburn County or Savannah, or any other place across the state. Any other questions? Thank you so much, and thank you to all of our law enforcement for joining us today. I'd like to ask all of the uniformed and non-uniformed law enforcement professionals to join us up here, and let's take a picture together. I want to just ask if we can just hold where we are. I don't take this for granted or lightly. I want to just offer, if it's okay, I'd like to offer a word of prayer over every law enforcement professional in this state today. Let's pray. Who we are, you made us. What we have, you gave us. What we know, you taught us. Where we are, you brought us. God, hear our prayer, hear our plea. We need you. Our communities need you. Our law enforcement professionals need you. The challenges that face our communities when it comes to crime and violence are significant. We cannot do it by ourselves. We need your help. We need your hand. God, I pray that you would protect every young person, that you would protect every officer, every deputy, every agent this day. The crime and upheaval, the violence that we're seeing in our streets is not of you, and it's not who we are. Give us the courage, give us the capacity to turn not on each other, but to turn to each other, recognizing that through your help, all things are possible. We're here announcing this weekend because we have faith in you and we have faith in one another. That faith that is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. If the naked eye were to look at the crime and the violence, the attacks on our officers, the officer suicides, the attrition rates, we would be weary. We would be weary. But you said to us that we are not to be weary in well-doing, but in due season we'll reap. God, we're planting seeds. Through Faith in Blue Weekend, through our ongoing engagement, we're planting seeds in every city, in every county in this state, that we believe and we're trusting you, you will allow to grow into partnerships that spell progress, that translate into peace. Protect every law enforcement professional that polices the streets of our state today, that no matter the danger, no matter the turmoil, no matter the weapon that forms against them, I pray that no weapon that forms against our law enforcement professionals will prosper. I pray that there will be an end to the tensions, to the law enforcement involved tragedies. We know if we have the faith, you have the power to see us through. Put your loving, protecting, blessing hands all over us. If you do this, we'll continue to give you praise. We know you from many walks of life. We know you by many names. But we know that there's a power that is greater than ourselves that is working in this world. And we give you thanks. In your name we pray. Amen. Can we get a picture? So we'll have to come in to get everybody in, please. Yes, we'll have to make 2 rows, we said.
I didn't say it. I see it in the eyes.
All of these vertically challenged people, Chief Ramos, all of you all who are virtually challenged.
They threw me up front because they say I'm short, but I ain't gonna get mad at it. At least I'm standing beside you, beautiful women, so I'm happy.
All right, who we starting with? Okay.
This is where the Capitol steps come in handy.
Yeah, this is.
Exactly.
For the last 2 years, we've done this at the state capitol, but everybody here complained about the state capitol.